without further ado, let's dive right in and start looking at some of the animation parts. So again, I'm using Aseprite, and as part of this, Aseprite has this handy feature called Show Onion Skin. So when it's not started, we don't see it here. When we start it, we kind of see these brackets. Here in the bottom, we can see one of the layers, and on the layers we can create a new frame. A lot of the pixel art animation tools and also Photoshop and these, you can make frames. You can make an empty frame, you can do a new frame, you can delete a frame. You can set a loop section, meaning that then it's gonna say that the previous frames are gonna loop until we say that they're not. And we can see here that with the onion skin, if we look at the candle holder, we see with the onion skin of the next frame, we can see here the parts that are going to change in the next one. They are semi-transparent. And here we see, do this just to see again, these are the parts that are going to change in the next frame. And if we do it like this, we can see the parts that were in the first frame, the parts that are in the current frame, and the parts that are in the next frame. So if we start it, we can see that we have a nice candles burning. And if we look at it here in the bottom, we can see that it's a bit fast maybe, but this can be tweaked by just copying and pasting some frames. So we can just do this, 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 and then we can see that we get a bit of slower flames going. But let's say that we want to do something more interesting. Let's, for the sake of it, just start with these three ones. Let's say that we want some of the wax to drip and fall. So we start with the first one, where we would have maybe parts of the wax going from here. Then we go to the second one, and we can see that some of the wax was here. Then let's move it here, and then let's put it here, and then let's also do some puddle, so it can be a bit more visually interesting. And let's make the puddle a bit more visually interesting like this. Of course, everything that we create here, we need to put in the other one so it doesn't just pop into existence. Something like this. And then let's see how this looks when we start. Again, maybe this is a bit too fast. It would look much better if we had more frames to work with. But you can see how easy it is to add up stuff. And again, we see at each frame with the onion skin where the next one will be and the previous one was. Yes. Then let's look at something more complicated. Let's look at the Sakura. This one, okay, I think this one is maybe a bit too big. Let's make it smaller and more manageable. Let's see how it looks. So you can see it, there is a bit of roughness, of course, but let's say that we want to make it so the grass in the bottom also moves. So now it's a bit, we can see that maybe the onion skin is a bit harder to see. We can So you can see that there are some changes that are gonna be happening here. You can, of course, and let's say that we want to do, so we start from here, then maybe on the third frame, we add some new grass here, and then we kind of change this one here, and we do the same here. Move some of the parts here. Maybe we do the same. One thing that I would say that you can do is, because we know that these things are not gonna be moving that much, and we've already changed this, I would say that you can actually slowly start copying stuff. So let's say this changed here, then in this one, let's put it again here, and then we start drawing again. Maybe we remove even more, and we add some more here, we add some here, this one here, and we start doing this one step at a time. Delete this, this, something like this. So then we do that again. We grab everything that has not moved and we add stuff here. That's going to be 5 and 6. They're going to be the same. 7. Let's change it a bit again. So this one comes here. This one maybe it's almost gone. This one becomes bigger. This one has moved completely. This has moved, and we continue. We do something like this, and once we're happy, we can copy this and put this. And let's do the final touches. We delete this, we add more of these. Let's delete this one, add here. Kind of think about how the wind is moving, because the top part kind of looks like the wind is going this way, and the crown of the tree is also kind of moving this way. So we're trying to simulate that rolling grasslands feeling. Yes, let's delete this and add it here, and let's delete this here. And then again, let's copy the whole thing and just leave it like this for now. And yeah, I think we can see what we managed to do. Maybe the first time it's not going to look that nice, but you never know. You can see that we have a little moving grasslands. Of course, one thing to observe is that there's a bit of a jump in between the last one and the first one. Maybe we want to kind of combine it so the last one kind of looks the same as the first one, so we get a nicer, cleaner loop. Finally, let's look at let's look at the main character. And again, here let's do a 2 onion skin. And one thing that I want to point out here is how much you can get away with to reuse and simplify animations with pixel art compared to other more traditional art styles. So if we see here, the change between 1 and 2 is just a bit of the tail here, and a bit of the ears, and then in number 3 we do a bigger change, so the character so the first one is the character jumps, then the third one the character falls down, it gets a bit of it gets squished a bit, then the difference between the third and the fourth is just again the tail and ears. Of course, you can add a bit of movement in the hand if you want to make it even more bouncy. And then again, we have the big difference between the first and the fifth is that just another leg of the character is forward, so we can imitate movement. Other than that, you can see we haven't moved the face. The tail is just moved a bit. The ears are also not that much moved. Again, between the fifth and the sixth, we only have the tail and ears. And then, because I was feeling lazy, I just copy-pasted the third and the fourth frames to the seventh and the eighth, just to make it a nice clean loop. So literally for making, once we have created a design of the character to animate it, we just needed to move a bit the ears, a bit the hand, a bit the tail, and the biggest movement was in its feet. And we can see that it's a perfectly serviceable first iteration, especially if it's a character small like this. It is quite okay. Of course, if you want to make it more smoother, you can add additional frames of animation in between until you're happy with the way the character looks. So again, try to experiment, try to, for example, even remove more frames or add more frames, try to create a character in your design, figure out if it's going to be walking or running or jumping, then what kind of interactions you want to do, and then you just figure out which parts of the character or the background or the object or so on you want to move. A lot of times it's actually, especially with background objects, I would suggest to make not a lot of stuff moving, because if everything is kind of twitching and moving and animated, you actually end up confusing the player. You pull from his attention to the character or to the task at hand if everything is just moving around. So again, we need to be very resourceful in the way that we choose what to animate and what to make it static. Sometimes static stuff can be really pretty, it can be very artful and tasteful if done correct. Yes, so this is for this video, and see you in the next one.